This is He Knows His Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. All right, I want to talk about intermittent fasting and the benefits of it. I want to talk about this in another video so that you can understand, because I've previously talked about this before, but I figure, you know what? I'm going to have to let folks know about intermittent fasting, more in depth so that they can understand what it is. First and foremost, intermittent fasting is not a diet. I'm going to say that again. Intermittent fasting is not a diet. What it is it's a pattern of eating. It's basically a pattern in which you eat every day. Basically, the way that it works and the way that it's structured is it breaks down the period of when you fast. That means when you abstain from food, anything that you can pretty much put into your body that can convert into proteins or carbs or fats or a combination of the three, that will not allow your body to use its own energy, but to allow it to use that food source energy. When you are fasting, you are abstaining from those forms of food source energies. You're basically allowing your body's own energy to sustain itself. I'm going to say that again. You allow your body's energy to sustain itself. Hence, now you're just basically living off of your body, and you're living off of what your body is doing at that time. Hence, the other thing that's good with intermittent fasting is there's a term, you guys have probably heard it before. It's called autophagy. And what autophagy does is it allows your cells to recycle itself. And it allows your new cells, or the cells that are recycling itself, to get rid of the old and bad cells, the ones that are not working. This is where, when people are talking about intermittent fasting and they say that it's anti-aging, this is where the anti-aging or the antioxidant properties of intermittent fasting comes into place. This is where the whole thing of when they say intermittent fasting rids the body of toxins and of free radicals, it's through autophagy that this takes place. It's through autophagy that this happens. So intermittent fasting is essential because it helps the body to rid itself of toxins. It cleanses the body out of free radicals. And guess what? Intermittent fasting causes you to be anti-aging. And case in point, all you guys got to do is look at my very first video on YouTube and look at me now. I look a lot younger now than I did, and I was a lot younger at that time. So that speaks volumes. I've been intermittent fasting since July of 2016. We're talking about right now, we're going well over 2 years. Almost 3 years. In July of this year, it's going to be 3 years. In another 6 more months, it's going to be 3 years since I've been doing intermittent fasting. Don't take my word for it. Just you guys go back to my very first video on my page and look at this video right now, the most current one, the one today. And you tell me if intermittent fasting has not been a positive for myself. The thing with intermittent fasting that I like about it is it teaches you discipline and it teaches you consistency. Because see, here's the thing. And I don't want people to be like, oh, he's getting all spiritual and all biblical or whatnot. But in the good word, Jesus himself said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded forth out of the mouth of God. Yeah, that could sound a bit, sacrilegious or religious, so to speak. But the gist of what he was trying to say, the context of what he was saying was that as human beings, we're not meant to just be, gouging food and hoarding ourselves, with food left and right. We're also supposed to give ourselves time to meditate and give ourselves times for ourselves. In doing so, this does not allow us to be eating. This is a time for us to concentrate. It's a time for us to focus, and it basically allows us to go into our chi, our inner being, and to talk with ourselves. You know what I'm saying? This is the time for us to do some critical thinking, some reasoning with ourselves. But in order for us to do this effectively, it has to be done without food. And then also the other part of intermittent fasting that I like is it's so beneficial for your health, because if your pattern of eating is basically most of the time you're fasting and you're not eating, then, there's no room for you to be sitting there gorging food all over the place. That's what I like about it. The other aspect of it too is if you're not sitting here and you're gorging food all over the place, then that means that you're abstaining from you gaining weight. I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want that? You know what I'm saying? Everyone, has some form or some variation of weight struggle that they're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? And even people that don't have weight problems, there's always a target or a goal that they want to reach. But guess what? Everyone can reach it with intermittent fasting, because for men, when you are doing intermittent fasting and you add in fasted cardio, or you add in some form of HIIT, which HIIT is basically just a popularized term in the health fitness industry of high intensity interval training. You add some form of variation of that along, or with fasted cardio, or with, weight training, or, or some kind of bodybuilding program, your HGH can boost up to 2,000%. I want to say that again. Your HGH boosts up to 2,000%. Oh yeah, ladies, I didn't forget about you as well. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's beyond the point if I don't mention you as well. Women's HGH can boost up to 1,350%. I'm going to say that again, 1,350% when they are doing some form of fasted cardio, HIIT, or bodybuilding program. I mean, come on, that just makes sense in the world. That's like fat burning times infinity. That's like being Thanos with the Infinity Stones or the Infinity Gauntlet. I mean, who wouldn't want that for your health? That's tapping into the fountain of youth. This is why I like intermittent fasting, because you know what it does? It reverses the aging process, or damn near slows that thing down to the crawl. Who wouldn't want that? You know what I'm saying? Like with all these ailments and these issues we got going on, with a lot of people having health problems and things of that nature. I implore you, I beseech you, brethren and sisterin, to take intermittent fasting seriously, and to do your research. Because you know me, I'm not going to tell you something and just spew out of my mouth because it just makes sense to me. No, knowledge is power. And like I've said before in previous videos, when you have the knowledge, it is imperative and it behooves you to share it to the masses so that from generation to generation, folks can prosper. Take a look at intermittent fasting. And if it's something that you want to employ into your life, I highly recommend that you do that, because the benefits with intermittent fasting is something that, you just can't overlook. This is your body allowing itself to naturally cleanse itself and rid itself of toxins, of free radicals. Your cell is basically recycling itself through autophagy. Your cell is basically ridding itself of cells that are deficient. I mean, come on. You don't get no better than that. And the longer you fast when you're doing intermittent fasting, the better. But like I've said in a previous video, and I'm going to say it again, I highly recommend that, if you had a feeding window of 16 hours and your fasting window is 8, then the next week go down to 15 feeding, 9 hours fasting. Then the next week, 14 feeding, then 10 hours fasting. Then the next week, 13 feeding, then 11 fasting. Then the next week after that, 12 feeding, and then 12 fasting. When you get to the 12-12, that's when you begin to start reaping the benefits of intermittent fasting. But once you start going past that, in weeks following that, where it's 13 hours of fasting as opposed to 11 hours of eating, and then the week after that, 14 hours of fasting as opposed to the 10 hours of eating, all the way up until you get to the 16 hours of fasting, the 16-8 protocol. That's when you really, really start getting into the fat burning. That's when you get into the ketosis, So just take a look at this, you know what I'm saying? Take a look at intermittent fasting, do your research on it, and let me know what you think. Comment, subscribe, like, and share this video with others. This is Henosis Sport, checking out.